Neal, McCready. I'm pretty sure that we are live right now. I'm going to wait for the delay to go on. I got the stream pulled up above my face right here. I think we're live. It says we're live. Give me 2 seconds. Let's see here. We live, baby. We're good. Look at there. We are live. Look at those producer skills, Neal. Are you jealous?
I'm not jealous, but I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
Hang on. So what you can't see is I've actually put a full size rain can right in between you and I.
Oh, how about that? Next thing you know, you'll be able to like stand on a slanted roof and watch for snipers.
No, it was not slanted, Neal. It was sloped.
Sloped roof. I'm sorry.
Sloped. Let's
As
go.
opposed to every other roof in the world that is sloped.
You don't see all the you don't have a lot of we don't have a lot of flat roofs around here, do you?
I mean, apparently, all you have to do if you want to kill somebody is just find a roof that has a slant
Oh,
or a
that's
slope.
great. That's great. Um, all right. Hey, since we don't have see, I don't have the audio file and stuff. We'll have to get Chase to pop it off. I'll let you do just for old time's sakes. We'll get on the camera. We'll get the pop. Go ahead. Let's crank her up. It's episode 189, by the way.
All right. So, welcome to. You know what? You want me to start an audition file?
Oh, you got your stuff with you. Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Does it work
Yeah,
on
I
your
can do
end?
it. I can do it. Hold on.
Look at this, man. We're making things happen over here today. Hope the chat likes my rain can. Look right in the middle. Let's go side by side. Let's see if we can do that.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Welcome into episode 189 of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal McCready in Dallas, Texas. That is Tyler Siskey. In Oxford, Mississippi, we're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning. No, we're not. I've been brought to you by Southern Heating and Air all week. Wrong one. We're brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more. That was sort of like the Joe Biden. What do you
Crosshair.
say? He called it battle box. We decide things at the battle box. It's like, no, catch yourself. It's ballot box. He said, no, it's ballot box. I don't know if this audio file is going to work. By the way, it doesn't look like it is. But worst case scenario, I can get Chase to pull it.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll figure it out. If I can figure this out, and I mean, I can't wait for you to see my life size rain can. You know,
Well,
on the deal, you're gonna love it. I got them side by side right now. You're gonna love it. I got the strawberry mango for the peeps so they can see that. So, all right, Neal. There's no way to put this. We're just gonna hop right into it. I've been waiting on this podcast for about 72 hours now, 72 to 96 hours. I can't lie and say that I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun this week. Um, just crazy, 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 crazy times that we're living in. And so with the attempted Trump assassination that took place on Saturday, question for you first thing is where were you like when you found out? Like what were you doing? Because I was kind of caught off surprise, obviously caught off guard. I wasn't watching it live. What were you doing? How did you find out that it happened?
so I got up on Saturday morning and finished 10 Weekend Thoughts because I was flying to Dallas on Sunday, and I ran a couple of errands with my wife, and we went to Chicory Market. We bought some fish and stuff to grill, and we got back to the house, and I'd gotten up that morning. I'd mowed the yard. We bathed Gus and Rizzo, and we went out to the pool, and had some music playing, and she was drinking some of those mom waters, and I was having a few beers, and we were playing. We have a basketball goal in our pool, and we were playing horse in the pool, me versus her, and we were just having a really good day. We were having a lot of fun, and we got to about 5-ish, a little after 5, right about the time that everything went down. And something we had originally been like, hey, we're going to hang out here for a while. And then she was like, we probably ought to go in and get ready so we can cook for Carson and stuff. And so we went inside, uh, put on some dry clothes, and I looked at my phone. My phone had been inside. I looked at my phone, and my brother Ryan, who lives in Katy, Texas, he was texting me. He said, "Turn on your TV now," with exclamation points. And he doesn't typically use exclamation points. And I immediately thought they shot Trump. That was the first thought that I had. They shot Trump.
Wow.
And we turned on the TV and trying to get it to YouTube TV and all that. And I looked at Twitter, X, whatever, and saw the video. And I was like, oh my God, they shot him. And the initial report was he'd been shot in the neck. And I saw the video where he went down, and I didn't. I guess I could tell pretty quickly that he was okay. Um, am I? It's really not funny. I don't know what the word is, Tyler. It was ironic, I guess, because I've been telling people, you included, that this was coming.
Yeah.
I've been saying this for months, that they've tried to. They've tried to. They thought he wouldn't run, and then they thought that he would. They prosecute him. They thought that he would quit. They thought that they could bankrupt him. They thought all these things, and finally, I said, "There's only one thing left." And even though I wasn't surprised, I was surprised at how angry I was. There was a visceral anger that this could happen in our country. That, and I guess almost immediately, I thought. I thought, what would have happened had the bullet been half an inch the other way? And we did a podcast this morning. Josh Hendrickson and I did the Josh Hendrickson Show. You can listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. And then after that, I poured some bourbon. I don't really remember. I just remember being angry that this is our country. This is where we are. That we can't. I don't know. I knew that at some point this was going to happen, and yet when it happened, I was still struck, if you will.
Yeah, I was. I don't even know what the. I was first of all. I was in the house by myself. My wife and Knox had some baseball stuff that morning, and we had company coming over, and I was going ribs round two on the Traeger, and smoking ribs, and I started, and so I was actually at the end. I was at the end of the 2 hour method. I had them wrapped in full, and I was getting ready to unwrap them, and I was taking the ribs off the grill, and a buddy of mine that coaches at SMU sent me a tweet. And for whatever reason, I didn't have my phone on. I usually have my phone on silent. I didn't have it on silent, and I looked at it, and you know how you can see, like on your text message, you can see like they show you like a glimpse of what's coming in the text message, like a picture, a photo, or whatever. It
Yeah.
was a photo. You couldn't really see the description, but it was a photo of Trump doing this right here, and I was like, oh shit, and I ended up cutting the bottom of the full open by accident. I spilled hot, I guess melted brown sugar and butter down my leg, so I got some burns on my leg courtesy of it. But just the I don't know. I don't even know. I'm like you. I saw that he was up pretty quick. So, and I heard when I watched the video back, and I mean, this probably wasn't in 5 or 6 minutes after it happened. It was pretty quick. You could hear them say in the video clearly, "Shooters down." And so when they started moving, so I kind of knew everything was okay. But my wife and I were talking afterwards, and I think we're still in this mode. Like I'm still in fact finding mode. Some stuff is coming out. I don't know if we'll ever know everything. I'm starting to get that feeling that if we're ever gonna know anything. But I got questions, man. I do. I have questions.
Of course. Well,
I
I mean,
think
look, let's be clear. Let's be clear here. It's one of two things. It is either gross incompetence. I mean, gross incompetence, or somewhat, and I lean towards gross incompetence for the record.
right.
Um,
I do too.
but if it's not that, it's the worst case. It's they knew and they didn't want to stop him because they were aware of this person a half hour before the shooting. The sniper, the counter sniper, had him in his sights for at least a minute and a half and probably longer and didn't take him out. The, the law enforcement was completely unprepared. The Secret Service is hiding behind this, well, it wasn't in the perimeter. It's like, holy shit, it's 130 yards. What do you mean it's not in the perimeter? It's the closest building. And so now today they come out with, well, we can't put someone on a slope. You can't put someone on a slope? Are you insane? That literally the counter sniper is on a much steeper slope. We have snipers on the White House at all times. It has a steeper slope. That is it is inexcusable. In the event that it is nothing more than absolute ineptitude, it is inexcusable to the point of no return, and everyone must be fired. I told Josh today, I'm in Dallas. I'm in downtown Dallas. I'm at the Omni Hotel. I am 0.4 of a mile from Dealey Plaza. And this morning, I couldn't sleep last night. I woke up at 2 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep. It was very frustrating. I made the mistake of getting on my phone, and that's a bad mistake. Never get on your phone at 2 a.m.
Wakes you up.
I got on my phone. I couldn't go back to sleep. I ended up tossing and turning. I was planning to write a column about Jackson Dart. I went ahead and wrote it at 4-something in the morning. And I finished, had a cup of coffee, and I was going to go down to the gym in the hotel. They have a very nice gym here, but I went down to the gym and it was cold. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go outside and go for a walk, kind of warm up. Then I'll come back in here and work out. And so I went outside. I started walking. And I took a left out of the hotel. And I ended up walking up to Houston Street. And I took a right onto Houston Street, which is where the Kennedy motorcade was before it turned onto Elm. And as I'm walking down Houston, what was once called the Texas School Book Depository is just looming bigger and bigger and bigger right in front of my face. The end where Oswald supposedly was is right there at the 6th floor. I'm sitting there counting floors, and I'm like, there it is. And I'm like, what a clean shot. If you're going to shoot somebody from that room, this is the shot you would take. You wouldn't wait for me to turn onto Elm. You shoot here. And I got to Elm, and I just kind of looked down there. I didn't feel like going down there again. For some reason, I just didn't want to do it. I took a ride on Elm and went for a further walk. But I looked down, and I was like, the only reason you would let someone turn onto Elm left is because you want to get them in a crossfire. And and yet this thing, I'll be honest, man, this thing with Trump has made me rethink the Kennedy thing. It's possible. You know where I'm about to go with this, I think. Just because someone has a title doesn't mean they're smart.
Yeah. I've heard you say that a few times.
Just because like I've always told you before, just because someone's the offensive coordinator somewhere doesn't mean he's a smart guy. Doesn't mean he's not, but it doesn't mean that he is. Just because you're the president of something doesn't mean you're smart. Just because you're the head of the Secret Service, it doesn't mean you're smart. You're a human, and humans are stupid. And a lot of times humans do dumb things. And I was walking that area today, and I was like, you know what? Maybe Oswald did act alone. Maybe the Secret Service and the law enforcement was just so inept that Oswald was a lone gunman, and he just killed him himself, and we can't accept that. And maybe it's possible that on Saturday, this 20-year-old kid navigated his way to that roof, even though people were like, hey, there's a shooter on top of the roof. No one did anything. And maybe he just took a shot. He just missed. He just missed by
You know,
like that much. And maybe it's as simple as the people that we put in charge of things are stupid. But in this case, unlike 1963, this woman was hired because she was DEI. Jill Biden wanted him to hire her. Jill Biden wanted him to hire her. She was the head of Pepsi. Pepsi, I mean, I'm sure Pepsi has a lot of stuff going on, but I doubt if Pepsi goes, hey, you know what? We're sending out the VP for regional sales today. How do we keep him or her safe? I'm going to guess that's not part of the deal. It's probably like, hey, where do we put him in a Hilton or a Marriott? What's his schedule? I doubt if they ever think, hey, how do we protect the VP for regional sales at PepsiCo from a sniper? I'm going to guess that never happens. In other words, she's not qualified for the job.
so
And then you throw in the reality. I'm on my little thing here. Then
go
you
ahead.
throw in the reality that Robert Kennedy Jr. Jr. usually means that you are the offspring of senior. Well, Robert Kennedy Sr. was the former Attorney General of the country, who was a senator, who was assassinated when he was a presidential candidate. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s uncle, John F. Kennedy, was the president of the United States when he was assassinated. You would think just by name alone, it'd be like, you know what, we probably ought to give the guy some Secret Service protection. But they haven't. And they haven't wanted to give Trump a lot of Secret Service protection. I mean, the whole thing is insane, Tyler. It really is. And so it's one of two things. Either, and I don't think this is likely. I really don't. I'll be clear. As much as I want it to be this wild conspiracy, but if it's not a conspiracy, and again, for the record, I probably think it isn't, it is gross incompetence. And the fact that no one's been fired yet is baffling.
That's where I'm, I've been to, I went to Daily Plaza. I guess that was last year before last, when I went down there for the UFC fight. Here's where, and this was my immediate questions after, probably I've been thinking this probably since 15 minutes after it happened, is when you see the overhead of the area, right, of where he's speaking. It's not like you were down by the Texas State Book Depository today. You went down Houston to Elm. You're in the middle of a city, okay, and you're in high-rise buildings with hundreds and hundreds of windows. Okay, This wasn't one of those situations. This is a wide ass open field. Okay,
this is Butler, Pennsylvania. That's not exactly Dallas.
It's the only place. It was the only place that probably a shooter could reach him from distance, and they didn't have anybody on that roof, or they didn't have that secured. Like, that's where I'm like, you talking about hand raised guy common sense party. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like,
yeah, of course.
Like, I'm no security expert by any stretch of the imagination. But if you said, hey, Tyler, you need to go here, the president's going to be doing his speech here, you need to secure this, I'm going to go, hey, you see that one building? The one building that's in this big ass pasture, that one building that has a roof over there 100 yards away, we need to make sure we got that taken care of. I would have been able to do that. And
yeah, you should have had personnel on that building, that rooftop,
standing on top of it,
where it's no way for anybody to get to it. But here's the thing, even beyond that. But this is the part that, to me, that part that you just mentioned is inexcusable. But the part, to me, that is like criminally inexcusable, they saw him. People were like, hey, look at the guy on the roof with the gun. So where was the communication that goes, hey, we might have a problem, get the president off the stage?
Yeah.
Get him off the stage. Like, let's take him to a holding area. Let's figure this out. And then if it turns out that this is just a big misunderstanding, great, we'll resolve it. We'll let him come back up and continue his speech, and he can talk about, hey, you see, Immigration's at an all-time whatever.
Yeah.
But you had to get him off the stage because I don't know. Here's where Josh and I kind of disagree. Josh said today, look, Josh is 100 times smarter than me, so he's probably right. But there's still a nag.
Housekeeping.
No, it's a. There's still a part of me that wonders if this is true. And what if that bullet's what if he did account for the wind? What if he wasn't hurried? What if he'd made his shot? I mean, he just missed. Just missed. What if he'd made it? And Donald Trump's dead Saturday night on national television.
Well, that was the part. That's what Aaron and I were talking about. I was like, you think I'm more, even I shouldn't say more, as thankful as I am that he is okay and healthy and all that stuff. The other side of it is, do you know what our country would be like today if
I,
he, like,
Josh said today that he thought that the Trump supporters would have just been resigned, would have
oh
been
no, I disagree with that.
so disconsolate that they just would have kind of given up, and that the left would have been quietly celebratory. I disagree with him. I mean, we'll never know, and I don't want to know because I don't want
Yeah,
anyone. I don't want anything to happen to Biden. I don't want anything to happen to
no,
anybody. The day that I get to a point that I hope someone gets killed, I hope someone just takes me out.
yeah, that's a lack of that. And the people who, by the way, the people that are going public saying those kind of things, they, I mean, like, there has to be some, I don't know what, you can't punish them and all that stuff. But in this world of cancel culture that we're in, that you're wanting, like, the lack of respect, like I said, I know, we all know, I mean, it's no secret on this show who I'm voting for, but I have respect for the office, right? I
Well,
have,
of course, and I have respect for the humanity, and
and
that's the part. But here's what I'm
be
saying.
a human.
I think if Trump were dead today, as we tape this, it's Tuesday, about 72 hours after the
Yeah, right at it.
yeah 72 hours away from the incident. I think there would be real problems in our country.
I do too. And
Um,
if nothing else, it would be like example, if nothing else, it would be these times that protesters, it would be the heat would be the emotion would be so ramped up that it may not be something in retaliatory against it, but other people would be hurt or injured or killed or something in some kind of retaliatory deal, and protesters and just all kinds of climate would be out of control. Shifting gears, but not shifting gears in the same topic. Um, I had another problem with it on Saturday, and I'm sure I sent you a tweet, and so you probably know where I'm going to go with this. We did not have a pre-show for everybody knows that because we never do. We just me and Neal get on here and talk. The media reaction, that the headlines. I saw USA Today. I saw the head Denver newspaper, whatever it's called out there. I saw these headlines about popping noises and falling, and the way that they immediately, without even understanding,
Secret Service escorts Trump off stage after fall.
yeah, after fall and things like that. And I'm sitting here going, like,
Loud bangs.
well, first of all, I felt so patronized. That was my first thought. Like, are y'all shitting me? And which most educated people did. They felt extremely patronized. Like, come on, man. But then you start thinking, do you know why they're doing that? It's because there's people out there that actually believe that shit. And that just infuriates me that we're at a place where people go, hey, look at there, CNN's right, or USA Today was one of them. They're right. Or the Denver, whatever the name of that paper was. The Denver paper's headline was about gunmen, about they shot the gunman. Well, no shit. Play stupid, play stupid games, get stupid prizes. No shit. And I just felt so patronized. But here's the other thing. I'm getting older now, right? I said, see, Mr. A,
Pennsylvania man shot to death as president falls.
right? All right. So
Yeah.
here was. I promise y'all we're getting to football at some point in time today, but this is more important. All right. So, but here's the part that probably I've been thinking about. It's been on my mind a lot in the last 3 days, right? And it's been in my mind a lot in the last four years. You know where I'm going with this, but it was even more in my mind after that. Is it's scary to think now that I'm getting older, I got the grays popping through here on the old goatee. It's scary to think how long and how many topics and how many things that the media's been doing this about and building the narrative of everything, not just one thing, not COVID, not this, not that, but just everything, right? And how it's scary to think how they've for all these years have kind of navigated the narrative for all these years, and you really didn't notice because maybe you didn't care much about it or whatever it was, or you wasn't invested in it or whatever it was, but it skews your thoughts, right?
I mean, hey, you're talking to the guy that the day before SEC media days, which sort of implies there's going to be a lot of media, tweets, "You don't hate media enough." I
how's
mean,
that? How's that going for you down in Dallas, Neal? You
well,
get any looks?
I've gotten some glares. There have been a few people who don't speak to me who used to speak to me. Um, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm right. Um, but no, I get where you're coming from. Look at how the media handled COVID. Look at how the media handled football season in 2020. You want to put your faith in media? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll say it out loud. As much as you hate us, you out there in the public, you don't hate us nearly enough. We deserve much more hate than what you give us. And we do. We deserve to be absolutely despised. Like, to the point where, and I feel this way strongly, there was a moment in Campbell's college search where she was like, "I'm thinking about journalism." And I said, "Well, then you can go to Missouri or nowhere else." And honestly, I'm not paying for it. It was the only time I ever said that. I'm like, it's a meaningless degree. You shouldn't do it. You might as well go to Starbucks and just learn how to make a great frappuccino.
Wow.
And that's how I feel about it. It's an awful field. It needs to be cleaned up. I mean, literally, MSNBC couldn't put their morning show on the air on Monday because they were afraid of what it would say 36 hours after an attempt on a former president's life.
Hey, and
I mean,
last thing.
it's the first time we've had one of these since 1981. The
Yep.
last time one of these happened, you were just a baby. I was
Yeah,
in
I
the
was
fifth.
3 or 4. I was 3.
I was in the fifth grade. I remember the day that Ronald Reagan was shot. I was in the fifth grade. I remember the day. I remember it vividly. And then Saturday was a day that my children, your children, probably the first day in their lives that was a day where they'll remember where they were when.
And I saw this. I didn't say this. I didn't have it written down. I did see this on social media before we got on the show, but it was I didn't like do any research to confirm it. But Dave Tex Kennedy on Instagram said something a minute ago. I don't know if you saw this or not, but it's right before we started the show. Said CNN just broke that the Secret Service had intel that Iran was planning an assassination attempt on Trump.
Yeah, and they
Is
have
that valid?
subsequent. Yeah, they have subsequently said that it's not related to what happened on Saturday. Trump, in the early days of, well, at some point in 2020, I think, during his pregnancy, they killed an Iranian leader,
Oh yeah,
and Iran has sworn revenge. So yes, that's a valid report. Everyone's reporting that. CNN, Fox, everyone.
gotcha,
Um, but that they have also said that it's not connected to what happened on Saturday.
gotcha.
But here's the thing. And I would say this about President Biden. Um, and I would say it about RFK Jr., I think. We're in an election year as a country. This is a heated election. We're a very divided country. My God, we're divided. Um, they know that former President Trump, from his years in office, has enemies, both domestic and foreign. Um, they also should know that former President Trump is at this point the leading candidate to be the future president. From a national security standpoint, he should have been protected. The fact that he wasn't better protected is an indictment on our country, and it sends a message to foreign enemies such as Iran that, hey, Because if I'm hand raised guys in Tehran and I want to kill Trump, I look at what happened on Saturday and I say, whoa, some douchey little 20-year-old loser who was an outcast at his high school 2 years ago was able to get to the roof of a building 130 yards from Trump and shoot with an AR-15 5 shots at him. If he can do that, what might we may be able to do? I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm hand raised guys in Tehran, I'm encouraged. We want to take out Trump. We want to kill a lot of Americans. Hell, it might be pretty easy. That's what I would be thinking. I mean, I'm not trying to be crass, Tyler. I'm just being
No, I
honest.
mean, no,
I
that's
mean, I mean,
valid.
we should be as a country projecting strength. We should be projecting a message that hey, you've got no chance at getting at any of our elected leaders, present or former. You're not going to kill. You're not going to kill Obama. You're not going to kill Bush. You're not going to kill Clinton. You're not going to kill Trump. You're not going to kill Biden. You can't do it. We have this thing down. You can't do it.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree. I
instead, this kid, I mean, if we're going to go on the theory, and I tend to believe this, that he was acting alone in some weird motivation to kill the former president, that he could get that close. I mean, hey, all bets are off.
yep. All right. Let's move along. Let's talk a little sports after that. I don't know how we're gonna talk sports, but we'll figure it out. Um, so I had to bring this up. I don't know if you saw that. I know you're busy. I know you had dinner with your brother last night, but did you see this rendition of the national anthem, the Major League Baseball national anthem yesterday for
I
the home
saw a
and home?
replay. I saw a replay of it at 2 something in the morning. Yes.
So today, her name is Ingrid Andress. Okay, today she came out and said that she was drunk doing the national anthem and has checked herself into rehab.
Uh, I mean, it happens.
I mean, hand raised guy, life advice. Hey, look, guys, if you're going, somebody should be around you. If you have a bad enough problem that you're like, hey, I'm about to sing the only sporting event that's on today, by the way, okay? The only sporting event that's on, I'm going to sing the national anthem in front of millions and millions, and I mean tens of millions, if not tens of millions of people. I'm going to sing the national anthem drunk. Hey, hand raised guy, it's probably not a good idea, but probably had the same. But her hand raised guy was probably the same person that said the slope was too big on the roof. So I don't know what the deal is there, but checked herself into rehab because she was shit faced singing the national anthem in front of tens of millions of people.
Life advice, by the way, presented by Cole Walters, State Farm Insurance. Cole is licensed in auto, home, life, health, business, and pet insurance for the whole state of Georgia. You can contact Cole Walters at 706-525-7850. You can also find him at colewaltersinsurance.com.
I'm going to watch the All Star game for at least while Skeens is in there. I'll watch it a little bit, but that's about. I usually watch the first inning or so, all the pre ceremony stuff, then I'm out. But I'll check a little bit of that out today.
When I was a kid, I loved the pregame.
I
Loved
know
it.
it's kind of that's probably why I watch it. I'm the same way. I love the pregame, but now it's kind of like I don't know. Well, I was the
I
same
don't
way as
know.
a
I
kid.
don't know any of these people because the team I cheer for sucks, and so I haven't watched much baseball at all. I've watched a lot of soccer. I watched the Euros. I watched the Copa. Carson had an All-Star game in Brandon a week ago. Um, I haven't seen that much baseball this year, so I don't know who all these people are.
Um, Me, like many of our listeners, I know you have not. I have had my last 24 hours occupied by NCAA 25 Neal. I had at 3 o'clock, we had the pre-order. 3 o'clock, we went live. So I'm gonna do just for you, so you'll know my thoughts on it because I'm an avid college football player to the point to where I beforehand I actually purchased Brock actually for Brock purchased him for Christmas a jailbreak Xbox One that we could play the old NCAA on for. We've had that for like a year and a half, so I play it all the time. Um, you know what? You know who else needs a hand raised guy? the producers at EA Sports.
Okay.
You know, it's beautiful graphics, unbelievable, all that stuff. The football part though, that was the cool thing about Madden and the cool thing about NCAA, the last NCAA is they kind of block things the correct way. And so now, they don't block. I'm a coach. It bothers the shit out of me as a coach when they don't block things the right way. And so like zone, right? You know this, and you're a reporter, but you know this about scheme. If we're running zone to the left, you know what direction all offensive linemen go?
Left.
Look, Neal, you're on it. But if for whatever reason, if like the count is off, and so like if they're pushing to a fourth guy, they four guys go for like they all go different fucking directions, and it makes everything jacks everything up. And so I'm all jacked up when it comes to that. And so my advice would be to this. The other thing they did, and I actually kind of like this one. You're not taking Louisiana Monroe and winning a national championship anytime soon. If you're playing on like just semi difficult levels, you will get your ass kicked when you go play other teams. It is realistic about that. But how they make it realistic damn near takes the fun out of it. And what I mean by that is this. So here's what I did, Neal. I started my dynasty. I'm the head football coach of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks.
Let's go.
Let's go. Because I knew Rich Rod, I knew this quarterback can run and all that stuff. So I wanted to do that in my hometown. That's kind of I thought about doing the Vanderbilt thing, and I switched over and doing that. Well, dude, you go and play anybody that's any good, they will run right through your freaking D lineman like they're not even there. You can't get a pass off. Like you just get fucking sacked every play. You hand the ball off, you're stuffed in the backfield, like you're done. If you do get your guys downfield, every one of them are covered. Like you have no chance of moving the football versus a better team. So they make that part. Now, when you go and you play like a conference game against FIU or whatever, then it's like playing real football. But they make it damn near impossible to while you're building a program. You're not upsetting shit. You're not upsetting anybody. So that part is
Tragedy. It's an
tragedy. I
absolute
know
tragedy.
you're upset. I know.
I am.
Are you
I
gonna go
am
sleep tonight?
torn. I didn't sleep last night, and now you're telling me this, and I mean, I might not sleep for a month.
And the read zone buttons were backwards. So like you used to have to hold down.
No.
You had to hold down A to hand the ball and read zone, and now that pulls it. So it took me like 3 quarters to figure that shit out. I couldn't figure out why my guy couldn't run read zone until I figured that shit out. And
Are you
then
okay?
I was pissed. I was legit pissed for about like Brock thought I was like I was cussing like you would have made so much fun of me. I was
I
I was
would. Yes, I would have.
I was motherfucking the TV so bad yesterday. We're gonna get sticks. I was like, what the hell's going on? All right, but
In a game between two pretend teams played by
yeah,
pretend
I
players.
was pissed. I was pissed. Uh, Yeah, so Tyler Fitch in the Cooper Chevrolet chat. I gotta read my Cooper Chevrolet ad in a minute. But Cooper, he said, I'm assuming this isn't live on TikTok tonight. No, it's not, Neal. It's not live on
So
TikTok.
what did you do to get banned off TikTok? You said something about my
Dude,
Arkansas
this
Razorbacks.
is wild.
What did you
So
say about my Hogs?
so I was just going live on TikTok the other day and
Yeah.
just doing bored as hell, just doing, Q&A football. We're just talking about say, well, what do you think about this team or that team? And somebody said like, hey, something about Arkansas schedule or something. And I literally I pulled up the schedule. I was going over just like we do on the podcast. I didn't say a curse word. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't dipping, nothing. I was following all the rules. And then it had like a warning. That's a warning comes up that says like hateful speech. This is your first warning or something. I'm like, hateful speech. I was being, I'm a Sam Pittman guy.
Yeah.
Like I love me. I was being like positive. So, and then we keep talking, and we're literally going down the schedule, and like 45 seconds later, whack, suspended or kicked off for it just kicked me off for 3 days this time though. But I'm sitting here going like, so I
Over
get,
Arkansas football?
yeah, just booted. I don't know, and it said hateful speech or something, and I'm like,
Maybe
hateful
that
speech.
maybe the head of TikTok is a big Arkansas fan who did not like you saying that their schedule was difficult.
I was
I
saying
mean,
I
it's
was
possible.
I was like pro. I was all like pro nice, pro Sam Pittman. I was like doing all the good stuff. I was like it was almost like my team, and then just kicked off. So yes, no,
Maybe
we're not on.
maybe the head of TikTok hates Arkansas.
That's probably what it is. Somebody doesn't like us and probably turned us in. I don't know, but I like we appealed it the whole deal. They're like, nope, hateful speech. I'm like, hateful speech. I'm like, whoo, it's a good thing you're not. It's a good thing we're not live on this show because if that was hateful
Yeah,
speech, we'd be
we
under the
wouldn't
bridge.
we wouldn't have made this
Yeah,
after. Did you see any of Biden's interview with Lester Holt? By the way,
I did. I
I mean
saw the highlight. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw some stuff.
I mean you're you're getting defensive to the point of almost snapping at a very favorable media member. That is not a good sign, my guy.
No, that's not at all. So,
Hey, but
all
hey,
right.
he's just trying to make America,
He
you
almost
know.
he almost said it. He almost said it. That
I
would
would
have
have
been
died.
if he would have said he was trying to make America great again, I would have fallen out of my chair. I would have. That would
Yeah,
have been great.
yeah.
All right. All right, football, we'll finish this thing up.
All right.
Since that's what we got like a football show and everything, we made it 45 minutes and didn't talk about football today. How about that?
How about that?
Well, we did talk about NCAA, it don't count. Um, it was kind of buried and everything goes on, but I want to say on our show, Jeff Tedford is probably one of the greatest to ever do it. That former head coach at Cal, current head coach at Fresno State. He has won everywhere he's been. Had to step down. I guess it was yesterday. Had to step down for health reasons. Yesterday, it's the second time he's had to step down for health reasons. One was about 5 or 6 years ago. So I hope he's okay. Um, but just one of the best to ever do it, and probably you hate it for him from a legacy standpoint because he's been on the West Coast. He's coached at Cal. He's coached at Fresno, and people don't really appreciate it because it's so far away in the market and all that stuff. But just truly one of the best coaches to ever do it. One of the best scheme guys and offensive minds that's ever lived. So I know that's tough, and they named the interim there, and I know it's hard on him because this business is hard enough when you're an assistant coach. This business is hard as hell because especially when you're at the group of five level. I've told you this privately. One of the hardest things about coaching at the group of five level from a assistant coach's perspective is coaches want to put roots down somewhere. You don't enjoy picking up and moving all the time. It gets very old. It's tough on families, very difficult with kids. And the hard part about the group of five level is if you win enough games, you have to leave because your coach or whoever, you're going to get another job. And so success, you move. If you lose too many games, you're going to get fired. And so you're going to move that way too. And then kind of the only way to really to build roots or put somewhere is to go 6-6, 7-5. But if you do that too many times, you know what's going to happen? They're going to fire your ass too because they're going to get tired of that. And you just hate it for the assistants when stuff like this happens because they've been winning and they're on the right trajectory. Now at the end of the season, you're going to have all these coaches going to be unemployed, and it's difficult because you're like it's just another thing. I know that's hard on Jeff to do that, but obviously hoping his health and everything else is more important. All right, I had to bring this up because I had to bring this up before we get to the SEC media days and talk about what you're doing. And we'll wrap it up with the SEC media days, but uh, I have been kind of laughing internally and with everybody else that about we're sitting here and we're in the month of July. We're about 2 weeks before camp starts, and about 6 months ago, almost exactly 6 months ago, Nick Saban retired,
He
and they
did.
hired and they hired Kalen DeBoer, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. The dynasty is over. They're not going to be able to recruit the same way because they got the Alabama discount and all that." And I think on this show, Neal, there was a short shit. It's bald, got gray in his goatee. He said, "Not so fast, my friends," because everybody's like, "They don't have any NIL money, Neal. They don't have any money. They can't get anything done." Well, they are currently sitting at the number one class in America with five stars, just recently getting another 5-star, and are absolutely crushing it on the recruiting trail. Arguably even better than Nick was doing it towards the end. Uh,
Whoa.
they are crushing it right now.
Hold up.
They are. I mean, it's you can look it up. It's not like it's that's not an opinion. That's facts. I mean, you can look it up. I mean, you can look it up. But hey, I think all the people that were worried about the NIL money, the NIL situation in Alabama, I'd probably say that they're okay. NIL wise, what do you think?
Well, I saw Coach Saban here in Dallas a couple of times. I said, "Hello, Coach Saban. How are you?" I do a show with Tyler Siskey, and he said, "Who?"
Yeah, right.
I said, "Tyler Siskey, quick you." He said, "Don't know the name."
Don't know that guy. Fuck him.
And I said, "Tyler Siskey," and he called for Secret Service. Luckily, they missed. Uh, is bad. No, I mean, look. Listen, you talk to people here in Dallas who know college football, and they almost find the whole Alabama is dead narrative to be both amusing and confounding all at once. Because obviously, Kalen DeBoer inherited a pretty good roster, and Kalen DeBoer has won everywhere he's ever been, and he just took Washington to the national championship game. Washington has some limitations. Alabama has no limitations. So I think and it just shows you that it's like anything else. And I'm not excusing the same media that I just made fun of a minute ago, but whenever someone dominates a sport for a certain period of time, you're searching for an end to that domination. You almost want that part of the story. And Nick Saban, the greatest that's ever done it, he retires, and it's natural that people would go, "Well, that's it, ball game,"
Yeah.
and that's not it. They are recruiting at a remarkably high level. They have a very good team coming back. It's a really good league, and Alabama is one of the teams that has a legitimate shot to make the playoff. They are, along with Georgia and Texas and Ole Miss and probably Missouri and maybe another one or two have legit shots to make the playoff. And not everyone can make it, and we're getting into a season where there are going to be some really sexy games, and Alabama's going to play some of them without
Yeah.
without Nick Saban. I mean, it's going to look different, it's going to feel different, but the people that are like, well, they're going to go back to being what they were under Mike Shula, I think you're probably going to be very disappointed.
Well, I can tell you this: if you're an Alabama fan, and if you're an Alabama fan, the recruiting part was probably the only part that you may like keep an eye on. But based on how they're recruiting, you don't have to worry about the coaching part. I can tell you that you don't have to worry about the coaching
Well,
part because they're going to be all right.
we probably didn't talk about this enough because he's a friend of ours, right?
Yep.
Kane Womack, the former South Alabama coach, who's now the defensive coordinator at Alabama, left a head coaching position at a place that he loved, place that his wife loved. Their kids were happy there. Kane could have stayed at South Alabama. And yes, money's a factor. Obviously, he's making more as the defensive coordinator at Alabama than he was going to make as the head coach at South Alabama. And to act like salary wasn't a part of the calculus is disingenuous, and I'm not going to do it. That being said, Kane wasn't going to leave the head coaching job at South Alabama to be the defensive coordinator at South Carolina or Kentucky or Missouri or Mississippi State.
No, it would have had to been. It had to been Alabama, Georgia, Texas, somewhere like elite of the elite.
Yeah, but it had to be somebody that he fully trusted.
Right.
Would Kane didn't leave the head coaching position at South Alabama to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama if he thought, hey, this guy is going to come in and wet the bed in the post Nick Saban era. Kane's a smart guy. I mean, we all joke around and we have fun with him when he's on, but the truth is he's very sharp. He's very smart. And his decision to leave South Alabama for Alabama as a defensive coordinator, to take a step back from a title standpoint, is one of the biggest votes of confidence for Kalen DeBoer that you're ever going to see.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit SEC Media Days, and we'll get everybody out of here today. So I'm curious. This is more. I don't. They probably don't give a shit. I'm kind of curious. Neil, give me like a hour by hour, minute by minute, not a minute by minute, but what's a typical day in the life of Neal McCready at the SEC Media Days?
So you want yesterday or
Yeah,
today?
let's do yesterday because that was the team that you cover. Ole Miss was there. So let's go like time you wake up, all the stuff you have to do. Because I mean, again, they may not give a shit, but I'm just kind of curious. I have no idea.
So I got up at 6. I went to work out and got back up here at about 7:30. Took a shower, went back down. I listened to Sankey. I did a notebook on what Sankey said. I listened to LSU and South Carolina. Put a notebook on LSU and South Carolina together. We had a local media uh, exclusive with Lane Kiffin at 12:50. We talked to Lane for about 8 minutes. I went back to the room, the main media room, put in my AirPods and transcribe Lane. Wrote that notebook while Lane was making his big room appearance. After Lane left, they brought Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, and Jared Ivey in. I talked to those guys, wrote a notebook. Then we had a local media opportunity with the players. I went to that. Mostly turned that into video content. I saved the Jackson Dart content for a column that I wrote early this morning. I did a 20-something minute radio hit with Brett Norsworthy in Memphis. Then I came back up here and I finished the notebook with LSU, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. Published that. I taped a show with Chase at about 5:00, 5:30, 5:30. Finished that, and then I went downstairs and I met my brother at the bar and had a couple of drinks and ate some dinner. That was my Monday.
And just rinse and repeat this day without covering the same people.
And so today I got up woke up at 2 in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep, ended up getting up at 4. I wrote a Jackson Dart column, went down to the gym, told you about that, walked around Dealey Plaza, walked around Dallas, came back to the gym, worked out in the gym, taped the Josh Hendrickson show, which is available on Spotify and Apple. Went downstairs and taped about 2 hours worth of podcast interviews and wrote a notebook on Oklahoma, Tennessee, Georgia, and Missouri, who all made the rounds today in Atlanta. And now I'm talking to Tyler Siskey
It's the
on
highlight of your day.
McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel.
It's the highlight of your day.
It is.
All right, coach, you've been most impressed with so far.
Oh, let me think. Trying to think if there's one. God, this is going to be a homer answer. I don't mean for it to be. Lane.
I thought he did a good job. I thought
He was very focused. Obviously, his father Monty passed away on Thursday, and so he has a very heavy heart, which is obvious and understandable. He likes his team. He doesn't hide from that. He also doesn't hide from the fact that there's plenty of work to do, and just liking your team isn't enough. Your team has to put the work in. He was sharp. Lane was on top of his game on Monday. Eli Drinkwitz, likewise, I think likes his team.
Probably likes his schedule too.
I liked Brent Venables today. Very honest about the challenge that Oklahoma faces going into the SEC. The only one that I kind of wanted to go shake and go stop was Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. He had a speech prepared, and I don't think that's the way to do this. And he kind of was reading a speech, and it's boring, and no one's listening when you do that. I did appreciate the frankness about, hey, we have to do things differently because this isn't working, but be more organic. Um, I thought Brian Kelly was interesting because people are sort of writing LSU off. And he pointed out that, hey, in year 3, I typically do really well. And he does. Um,
Yeah, theirs is going to be
Josh Hyde,
if they can put it together depth wise on defense, they're going to be good. I mean, they're going to score points. They're going to be. It's all about depth
they
wise
have
on
talent,
defense.
right?
Yeah, they got
They have
talent. It's just
talent.
a matter if they can put it
Yeah.
together or not.
It's the SEC. Everyone has talent.
Yeah.
I mean, like later this week, Mississippi State's going to be here. They have talent. Arkansas is going to be here. They have talent. Um, they don't have as much talent as other teams, but make no mistake, they have talented players at those schools. So, look, it's a really good league. I'm interested to hear Kalen DeBoer tomorrow, Billy Napier tomorrow, um, Steve Sarkisian tomorrow, Texas. There's a lot of buzz here today about Oklahoma, deservedly. First day that Oklahoma really was introduced to the league. A lot of media, a lot of Texas media is here. It's been, this, you coached in this league at 2 places. This is a bitch of a league. It's hard,
Yes.
man.
It's harder
I
now.
mean,
It's harder.
it's even harder now because you've added 2 elite brands to very passionate fan bases, to universities that care, to committed institutions, to a league full of what I just described, and it's a bitch, that, and it's an impressive league. I mean, we don't even talk about the Kentuckys of the world, and you look at the job that Mark Stoops has done over the course of basically a decade
Yeah.
at Kentucky, and I mean, it's impressive. And you look at what Eli Drinkwitz did at Missouri last year, what Lane Kiffin's done at Ole Miss. I mean, just the list goes on and on of how good this league is, how hard it is to win in this league, how competitive it is, and now you add a Texas program that's pretty elite right now, and an Oklahoma program that's not far from elite. You talk to people about Texas A&M and how close they were last year in the midst of all the chaos to still having a really good year, and you realize just how much of a beast this thing is.
In the Cooper Chevrolet chat, Bradley Gilbert says, Siskey, do you have any good Monty Kiffin stories? I really wasn't around Monty that much. What I remember about Monty is when I was working with Chris, um, is probably the first time I met him. Him and Miss Robin, his wife, they would come to town to see the babies and all that stuff and hang out. The thing that, probably the thing that sticks to my mind, probably more than anything, is just how genuine and nice he was as a human being. He, no matter like he didn't have to talk to me. You know what I mean? But he was truly he was just one of those guys that every single time that you engaged in conversation with you, he kind of had this way of making you feel like the most important person in his life for that moment. You know what I mean? Like he was always truly engaged and interested in you, and that was something that stuck out to me when I met him because, when I met him, I think he had just retired or was finishing up and Chris, no secret, if you listen to the show, Chris Kiffin and I are really good friends. And, um, I hurt for their family and, pray for Miss Robin and hope, everybody, all the Kiffins I know it's tough loss, but just a truly engaged, um, nice person, just made you feel like you were the most important person, in the room when he was talking to you. And it could be, in the short time I was here with Lane. I mean, he came, I think he was here a couple times and same thing, and then I've seen him out in town a couple times. Like I think the last time I saw him and Miss Robin. They were going to eat dinner somewhere, and I saw them out somewhere. And this was, and he was leaving the restaurant. He stopped what he was doing to, just that, for me as a football coach to have a living legend, and he didn't know me his 5 seconds, just to have it means something. It tells you a lot about somebody's character. It's a sad loss, and we lost a good one. He was a good man.
Yeah,
Um,
I would see him at Ole Miss practices, and he would come up and say hello. He didn't stay for long, and obviously he was old at the time that we were around him, obviously, and so kind of frail at the end. Um, but you could tell that he was just a. It was funny, because he's the opposite of Lane. Lane's not social in that way. Lane doesn't ever come up to you in small talk or any of that. And, Chris does. And I'm not criticizing Lane or Chris or anybody else, just different. It's funny how people are different, right? You know, um, Lane's not good at that. Lane doesn't come up to you and, hey, how are you? How's your family? Or any of those things. And yet Monty would come up and tell stories. You could ask him
yeah,
about Mike Allstott or different people, that he coached or the teams that he was part of, and he would tell you stories about it and make you feel important.
yeah.
He didn't be,
That's probably the best what I was trying to get to. That's probably the he made you
and
feel
it's not that
extremely important.
Lane doesn't view you as an important person or whatnot. It's not that. It's just that he's just not good at that. It's not he's not comfortable with that. And his dad was. And but I thought Lane's answer about Monty was as much as Lane really didn't want to talk about it. I think he wanted yesterday to be about Ole Miss and not about that, not about him. He wants Saturday in Tampa to be about his dad and all of that. But he did make the comment that most sons, they don't get to have their dad at work for
Yeah, that's
the
tough.
the three years at FAU and the 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been at Ole Miss. Lane got to have that, and he acknowledged that was special and that was something that not everyone gets, and that was a gift. And um, I don't think Lane's great at being able to like express himself publicly, but the one thing that you could really see was that he understood that it absolutely meant something to him, and it was something that he cherished. And you got a little bit of a glimpse into his feelings from a personal standpoint, which is something that I think he uh, protects, whether intentionally or not. I think he keeps that away from the public eye for the most part.
Yeah. All right. The last thing about SEC Media Day, I thought this was great. My favorite part, I'll be working. I'm working today, and I have one of the TVs on, and had it on the SEC Network and listen to guys. My favorite part, you probably don't get to see it because what you're doing. My favorite part of the SEC Media Days, Nick Saban is unbelievable on the desk.
What a
And
shock!
I know, shocker, right? And it's funny that they're letting him go. Like he's actually getting, you're getting a little behind the scenes, and he's getting into it and really explaining some things. He's awesome. Um, but I couldn't help but laugh. I saw Lane's quote. This made me laugh so hard because I can put myself in that situation and see it happening. Nick has gone his whole, I mean, for I don't know how long. I mean, everybody knows who Nick Saban is. He hasn't had a credential. Like Nick doesn't wear a sideline pass. Like, come on, and and he hasn't had a credential and no telling how long, right? And he gets stopped, and has to go get his credential for SEC Media Days. And Lane had the quote. He said, "Now what's he going to do because he doesn't have the 7:30 a.m. staff meeting tomorrow to rip someone's ass?" I died because that's exactly what would have happened. I mean, that was Lane's being funny, but that's exactly what would have happened. Like he's always had that taken care of, and somebody's always
Well,
had his pass or flashed his pass for him. Like whoever was like, if you were ever in a situation, I don't think I was even ever with a situation with Nick where he had to be credentialed. But if ever that was the case, Said would have been there with him with a credential, or Jeff Puritan back in the day, or Josh now Maxim would have been with him and had the pass or whatever, and gone about his day. And then if he's going like to speakers, he'd had Jimmy Sexton with him. Somebody had been with him to where he wouldn't have done that. I can only imagine kind of like the and look, I will say this: Nick wasn't like Nick would never be rude to anybody asking for a credential. He'd just be pissed and get on somebody's ass about not having his credential. You know what I'm saying? Like it would have been, he'd have been, I got you, no problem or anything like that. It was kind of like when he would do like photos or sign autographs or anything like that. Like anytime we had camp or anything like that, you would have to like walk with him, and you had to be the asshole. You know what I mean? Like you had to be the asshole. And so like there'd be like he'd have to be on live TV or something of time, and there'd be like some 8-year-old kid, on the side, like, Coach Saban, can you please sign this? And coach would always say, if I see him, if I get to him, I'm signing that damn autograph. Do you understand? But I need to get here. And so you got to be the asshole and be like, oh, he's busy right now. You feel like an asshole. So now there's no telling how many 8-year-old kids are not 8 anymore. They're probably like 15, 16 years old. People in Alabama hate my fucking guts. They're like, that asshole, he wouldn't let me, because you just have to like, you had to bob and weave, and get him going to where he was at. And that was, I can only imagine how that went down yesterday.
Well, I can, let me tell you this about SEC media days. The Secret Service might not be able to handle security, but the SEC media days security can handle security. Earlier today, I was down in the media area, and anybody who keeps up with SEC media, SEC football, they know Laura Rutledge.
Right.
Laura Rutledge she was right beside me, and she did not have her credential on her at the time. And she was stopped, completely stopped, and forced to go get her credential before she could move through. And look, she didn't, and I like Laura. She's a very nice person. But I mean, you could tell it was kind of like everybody around her was like, "That's Laura Rutledge. She's fine. It's
She's gonna be
Laura.
on TV in a minute."
It's Laura Rutledge. She's on TV all the time. She's legit. That's her. There aren't many people who look like her. It's her." And nope, that woman wasn't budging. Laura Rutledge had to produce her credential to get through that wall. So, I mean, Nick Saban's learning how the other half lives. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, you might be the greatest college football coach who ever lived, but if you don't have your credential, you're not getting on to 4-3 at the Omni in Dallas. No, sir.
And then you missed.
Hey, was sloped roof or not?
Hey, you missed this. You need to go back and watch it if you get a chance. Probably my favorite thing, and again, it's probably me because of my personal relationship. So some of y'all may not give two shits, right? But my favorite part so far has been when Kirby, like, I don't even the big room interviews, those are boring as shit to me. The questions that get asked in that big room will put your ass to sleep. It's when they get on the table at the SEC network guys, or they go, like you were saying, those small groups in the back room. That's when the good questions and everything that you really want to know are asked. But today Kirby went on the SEC network. You need to watch it back if you get a chance. Um, and Nick was up there, right? And that's the one thing
Yeah.
I missed yesterday. I was so pissed. Like, I went back and watched. I was so pissed that the afternoon crew was in there and Lane didn't get to go up there with Nick. I was pissed about that. I wanted to see that one. I wanted to see that interaction. But they were up there, and they were talking about coach and all this stuff. And they were talking, and it triggered. I try to tell people I don't have these stories staged, but I get triggered by stories and stuff like that. I have been not told a golfing story because it was kind of out of turn a little bit. I was going to let. I didn't know if Kirby would ever tell it, but Kirby came out today on the SEC network and kind of talked a little bit about the golfing stuff. And so now that Kirby has talked about it in public, I feel like I can share it. I feel like I got the green light now. Kirby was, and coach even admitted, that's the other thing that happened out of this deal today. There's going to be some people with their feelings hurt. It won't be me, but there'll be people with feelings hurt. We all knew that Kirby was number one. He was all time. He was like coach's son. Okay. And so anything that you tried to do, like sneaking around or getting something done or leaving to go get something to eat or stepping out of the building for 3 seconds, if you knew that if you were with Kirby, you were okay. Okay. Because if you were with Kirby, you were never going to get in trouble about anything. Like, Kirby may be the only. I don't know if I ever saw Kirby get his ass ripped. Now, coach may have ripped his ass, but he never did it like in front of her. Like he was like untouchable. He was like the favorite son. And so coach admitted today on that deal that he was like, well, Kirby's our best assistant. And he called himself and he goes, definitely our best defensive assistant. And then he started trying to catch himself. So coach, we all knew the whole time. He didn't have to tell us. We all knew. But Kirby was talking about golf. And so Kirby in that building when I was there wasn't that many people that played golf. There was only about, there was a lot of the analysts and like myself, Joe Panunzio, Ben Settis, and some other guys like that. We all played. Jeff Puritan, who's now the AD at Arkansas State, he was our SID there at the time. He plays, but Kirby loved to play, and so we got this thing about how we were going to play, right? And I just want to go for the record because he said today that he was telling a story about when he showed up and Coach Saban was there, and that he got bad information. I want to go on record and let everybody know that was not me. Okay, that was my job when I was there, so that had to be either before me or after me. But I had access to Coach's calendar, and Miss Linda Leone, she was Coach's secretary. She's awesome. She's the best. So I had Coach. She put everything on Coach's calendar and I had access to it through my computer because I had to organize all the calls and stuff, right? And so I would go down and say, "Hey, coach is playing golf today," or wherever. And then there were really three courses in Tuscaloosa at times, like Old Colony, Indian Hills, and North River. Well, coach would play at North River a lot. Well, the problem was, Neal, I lived in North River, and so we would go and play, and we would play we'd do crazy stuff, man. We would play like he's not joking what he said today. There'd be pretty much he said 25. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I don't know, there was 10 dozens of us out there at the same time. And we'd be in we'd get one golf cart apiece. And we would literally hit. And I mean, we played the fast, everybody went to their ball. It was nuts. It was insane. If you play golf, it would be insane to understand how this happened. And so one particular time, I'll tell you two Kirby ones real quick. One particular time, I think I've told on the show, but it's been a long time if I told it. But we were going out there, and we knew Coach was going because Old Colony was closed because they were redoing the greens, and Indian Hills had an event or something. It was just one of those days we could go play golf. Well, Coach was going to play with like when it got close to like the Regions Classic deal, that he plays in, he would start going and playing with the golf coach and trying to get his swing down and all that stuff. So Coach had his group that he played with, which was like people that have about as much money as he has and professional golfers. He plays with the real guys. And so we would let him leave and go out there. We'd give him about a 30-minute head start and we would go and we had it arranged. So shout out to my guys at North River. The guy's probably not there anymore, obviously, because it's been a long time. He's probably got like a real job now. But we had like an assistant pro out there. It took care of us. And we would all, if you're from Tuscaloosa or familiar with the area, we would drive all of our cars and we were like a convoy. And we would pull over on the side of the freaking highway on the road that leads into North River, and we would all be stacked on the shoulder. We'd all be stacked in there. And we were waiting on the guy to call us. And so if you're familiar with North River, I know you haven't, Neal, because you're not a golfer, but on hole one's a par five, and it crests a hill and go. So it's a hill and it goes down. So as soon as Coach teed off on one, he would call us and tell us that it's time to play. And so we would haul ass and we would drive around. And in our process of driving around, he would never see us because he was down in the valley of going to get his second shot. All right. And so we would come around, and by the time we got to the clubhouse, he couldn't see us. And so when I know it's bad. All right, so it's what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, Neal. All right, and so they had all these golf carts waiting for us. And so we would come out and we would put our stuff on the golf cart, one person in a cart, and you'd drive to the first tee box. Well, the same guy that brought us our golf carts would get in like a gator, like he was a worker, greens worker, and he would kind of follow Coach around. And so if you're familiar with the golf course, if you're listening, you're familiar, he would cross the road on two, go to three. Well, when you go to four, when you leave the fourth green, you kind of leave the area and you can't see anything for a while. So when he teed off on three, they would radio back to we'd all be getting loose on the first tee box, and he'd go, "Hey, he just teed off on three, and here we go, whack, 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 whack," and we started playing. and we would play, and so we would never catch him. And so we would play 9 holes. The 10th hole's a par five. We play 10. And then, so remember, he's like 3 holes ahead of us, right? And so when we finished 10, the hole 17's tee box is right above the 10th green. So we would play 10 holes, play the 17th hole, the 18th hole, and then be in our car and be gone before he got back around. And so that's how we played golf.
You
And
don't
here's
think
the
he ever knew?
all right, so I he probably did, but I don't know. He never acted like it. But here's the thing: is he never said we couldn't play golf. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things that was kind of like you were scared shitless that if he found out if you, I mean, you were generally, I mean, like you were like, man, he's gonna cuss me. And so remind you, I lived at North River, right? And so I would have to drive through, and it never failed. Neal, it was damn near like clockwork. I can't remember the hole. I want to say it was like going to 16 or it's going to 15. You have to cross the street right in front of my house. And so at this time, he wouldn't go till 4 o'clock. So at this time, it's like 6 o'clock or whatever it is. I freaking would get sweats. I would start sweating driving to my house going, I'm going to see his ass on the green or on the tee box, or he's going to see me. And it never failed. Damn near every fucking time I was going home, he was either, like one time, the worst was I had, like, you know how they have like a cart crossing? I had to stop my car, and he drove right in front of me in a golf cart and just looked at me and just gave me like, what the hell are you doing? You going home at 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever it is? Just, and you're just, you're like, shit. But he would never say anything about it. He never addressed it. He never did anything. So that's how we had to play golf. Now, here's one, the last one I'll tell. We'll get out of here. Um, Kirby told me this. So this is coming from Kirby. I don't think this happened when I was there, but my first year there, Kirby was like, you got to play golf when you can play, and he was explaining all this stuff, how to do it, and all this stuff. He's like, yeah, I sneak off and play all the time. It's like, what do you mean you play all the time? We had a kids camp one year, or I think it was the year before I got there. They had a kids camp, and it's not the same. They let the quality control guys coach positions, all that stuff. And he said once coach walked around, coach would walk around like he always does. Like when after you finish stretch, coach would walk around all the positions, and then coach is a creature of habit, man. He doesn't change. Okay, I'm trying to tell everybody. Like he literally, people say that he doesn't change. He goes to stretch. He messes around, talks to the kids. He does it in the high school camp. He does it in the kids camp. He's going to start the wide receivers. He's going to go all through the offense. He'll start on defense. He'll get the linebackers, D line, and then he's going to get bored. And he always ends up at the corners, and he's going to coach, and he'll start coaching these 8-year-old kids like they're getting ready for the Super Bowl. So, I mean, he does. He would get after it. And so, as soon as he left the linebackers, Kirby said he'd like turn it over to Schumann because Glenn Schumann was his assistant. And
Yeah.
so he would turn him off to Schumann. He'd go jump the damn fence at camp and had somebody picking him up. He was he was playing in the members guest. Okay. And he jumped the fence and had people picking him up, driving him to Indian Hills, playing in the damn golf tournament, and then driving him back to get back by the time the staff meeting started. So coach never knew he was gone. So I wonder if,
Yeah, he knew. He knew.
but dude,
Come
I'm talking about
on.
Kirby Smart's jumping the fence at practice to go play golf.
Yeah, I have to believe Saban knew. And
I,
he loved it. He loved the fact that y'all were so scared of him that y'all did all that stuff.
oh,
He had to know.
I was terrified, man. I really was. I was terrified, and like it's just funny, man.
He is an intimidating person. I mean, like
But there was
literally.
no reason, right? He never yelled at you for leaving early, or he never yelled at you for not being. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just
Yeah,
the threat of just
yeah.
your curiosity that you were going to get your ass ripped. You know what I mean? Like you
He's
just
the
thought,
only person. He's the only. I mean, I've done this for a long time. I've talked to a lot of coaches. He's the only coach that I can ever say that I was intimidated of. Only one.
and what's crazy is there's no reason. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he was awesome. He was always awesome. And it's like, I've told this on here, but it was like when they got ready to leave, every night that he left during the season, right? Like I paid our custodian. I paid our custodian every week. Like I paid him money. I said, look, man, I said, I don't know. at that time we turned it into like a recruiting deal, but it was like where the cafeteria. You've probably been up there, the cafeteria part and the very side of the complex, and they've juiced it up now. I was like, look, starting at 9 o'clock, I need you to, because he worked overnight, right? He worked all night long. I said, look, at 9 o'clock, I need you in this room. Act like you're mopping. I don't care. I said, but sometime between 9 and 11:30, because he usually would never stay later than 11:30. I said, but sometime between 9 and 11:30, because Coach would just get up and walk out, and nobody knew he was gone, and we were all waiting on him to leave. And so I paid our guy to act like just sit in there. And every time that when Coach would walk by, he would come by the office and let me know that, hey, he just left. And I'd go by and I'd go, hooty hoo, hooty hoo. We give the hooty hoo call, and everybody could leave and go home. But that's just because he wouldn't tell you. He wouldn't end the meeting like, hey, it's time to go home. He would go back in his office. And then he had a way to get out of there without you knowing. And there wasn't a back door. He had to walk down the hall. It wasn't a secret, but like nobody heard him because you were in the staff rooms or whatever. And so I had to get. That's how we had to finagle our way around the business to get home.
Crazy.
So, but brother, I appreciate the hell out of you. When you coming home?
I'm flying back to Memphis late tomorrow, and so I get back tomorrow night.
All right, I know you need some rest.
Yeah, I did not sleep last night. I'm hopeful that I will sleep tonight.
Well, I'm going to tempt fate tomorrow. I think I'm just going to go on TikTok live when we come off suspension tomorrow and just stare at the screen and not say a word. See how long it takes them to kick us off live again. But it's fine. They don't like strike us for like posting. It's just lives, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just going to stare at the screen and not say a word. See how that works out. So
That'd be funny.
All right, brother.
All right.
Enjoy the shit out of it. Y'all be good. Hey, appreciate. Hey, before we go, real quick, thank everybody in the Cooper Chevrolet chat. Cooper Chevrolet's got over $13,000 off, or you can choose 1.9% APR for 36 months, or up to 5.9% for 84 months. Plus, you get no monthly payments for 90 days. You can also get $2,250 in trade assistance on eligible vehicles and more discounts. Call the guys at Cooper Chevrolet at area code 256-236-4481. For Neal,
We've been brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams, natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolyte, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits, achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more.
All right, for Neal, I'm Tyler. We'll catch you. We should be back on a regular schedule next week and getting ready for football season. I know Neal's fired up and ready to go after SEC Media Days. But until Monday, we'll see you Monday at 2 o'clock.